츄디 Shipping Company, a privately owned Norwegian company. The 츄디 Group is a shipping and logistics group focusing on east-west trade and projects involving the Baltic states, Russia and the CIS countries, including the northern regions of Russia and Norway. Since the early 90s, the group has had an interest in the northern regions, based on a belief that this will be an extremely positive development for the region compared with other areas of the world. In 2006, 츄di became substantial landowners in Kirkenes, the Norwegian border town with Russia. The group's 1 million square meters shoreline in Kirkenes will be developed into an integrated port for industry and logistics. The Kirkenes Industrial Logistics Area, HILA, to serve the future needs of the oil, gas and mining industries in the region. Due to their interest in the high north and Arctic region, 츄디 Shipping Company was among the pioneers to initiate the first non-Russian commercial shipment through the Northern Sea route to China. The bulk carrier MV Nordic Barents successfully transported a cargo of iron ore from the Sydvaranger mine in Kirkenes to China in 2010. 츄디 Shipping Company, TSC, was founded in 1883 and has accumulated many years of experience working on projects in Russia, the Baltic states and North Norway. 츄디 Arctic Transit, TAT, is a wholly owned subsidiary of TSC, founded in 1996, with the aim to develop transport solutions for cargo to and from Russia, and to serve the oil and gas industry with transport throughout the Barents region. The level of activity within the oil and gas sector is set to increase in the near future, and this will require an increase in the transport systems offered. Yet another exciting opportunity is the Northern Sea route, providing sailings through the Northeast Passage during the summer season. One of the services provided by TAT in this sector is the reloading of oil products in the region. And the company has acquired invaluable experience of such operations. One example of such an operation is when the Vladimir Tikhanov, Suezmax class with a total of 162,000 deadweight tons, sails into the North Cape waters in the autumn of 2011 to load 120,000 tons of gas condensate. As the ship approaches the harbour boundary, she is boarded by a pilot and escorted by tugboats to a secure and precise position at the anchorage in the Sandnesfjord, nearby Honningsvåg. An authorised loading-unloading master now takes charge of the operation, anchoring the huge vessel and making the ship ready, putting out large fenders. 2 tankers, Panamax class and with 75,000 DWT each, have already been loaded with the gas condensate to be reloaded. The 2 tankers arrive in the Sandnesfjord, accompanied by a pilot, and are manoeuvred safely by tugboats to a secure shipside position. Once the tankers are ready, a comprehensive security procedure has to be carried out, involving all the personnel and crew who will be working on the operation. A number of checklists have to be reviewed before the operation can start. The first task is to lay oil booms around the ship and connect hoses for transfer between the ships. During the entire operation, 2 tugboats and 1 standby boat are close by and at the ready. The loading-unloading operation can now start, and the transfer of the gas condensate will take approximately 18 hours per tanker and will be closely monitored throughout the operation. Once the operation is completed, the couplings are removed and the empty tankers haul up their anchors and sail out of the Sarnes fjord. Now the tankers have left the area, the oil booms and fenders have to be removed, and the Vladimir Tikhanov can sail out of the Sarnes fjord with its pilot on board. The operation is successful, and there are no unnecessary incidents. The ship is now ready to start its voyage through the northern sea route, carrying its cargo to Thailand as the largest ship ever to make this sailing. 츄디 Arctic Transit aims to further develop its transport solutions and the potential already present in this region. Keeping in mind the increased level of activity and the valuable experience we have gained, we are confident that our transport solutions will be a very attractive part of the developments to come into the high north.
츄디 Shipping Company first conducted international transit via NSR of steel back in 2010, and the company has provided ship-to-ship transshipment service in the Arctic Sea. That is why we've invited the president and CEO and chairman of 츄디 Shipping for the keynote speech. And the title is 10 Years of Accelerating Arctic Shipping. What will
First of all, thank you to Professor Hong and his team at the Institute of Arctic Logistics at Yongsan University to let me present here today. My topic will be 10 years of accelerating Arctic shipping. What will it take for it to continue? The 츄디 Group is a shipping, logistics, and ocean industry solutions provider with particular focus on east-west cargo flows involving the Baltic, Russia, and the CIS countries, as well as logistics and infrastructure in the Arctic. To deliver, we are drawing on or combining the competences of the whole 츄디 Group. The 츄di Group in the Arctic reflects our main business areas: the ocean industries with ship-to-ship transshipment of oil and LNG, oil spill prevention and support for the fish farming industry, cross-border logistics in the region, development of natural resources, iron ore and aggregates, and port and infrastructure development, mostly in Kirkenes on the border to Russia. The Kola Peninsula and northern Norway form an all-year ice-free wedge into the Arctic, a natural logistics platform for the region. We chose Kirkenes as our main base in the north due to this ice-free port and proximity to Russia. Knowledge of a passage to China via the north was known from the 16th century and possibly earlier, but systematic commercial use was only contemplated from the 1870s onwards. Two of my heroes, Captain Joseph Wiggins and Mr. Jonas Lied, took initiatives to develop the Kara Sea Route with Russian partners in stages between 1874 and 1918. The Siberian Steamship Company, run by the Norwegian Jonas Lied, operated from 1912 until the Russian Revolution. In September 2010, 츄디 Shipping Company arranged the shipment of iron ore concentrate via the NSR from the Sydvanger iron ore mine in Kirkenes to the port of Lianyungang in China. For the first time, a non-Russian vessel carried a non-Russian cargo between two non-Russian ports, proving to the world that the NSR is an international trade route open to all. The 츄di Group is now working to reopen the Sydvanger mine and start shipping through the NSR again. The Northern Sea Route turns a freight disadvantage into an advantage. There are substantial savings of time, fuel, and reduced pollution to air compared with the Suez or Cape Passage. The most important takeaway from the past 10 years of NSR transits is the wide range of vessels that have successfully used it, proving that it is a viable trade route for many different cargoes and uses. Having been a part of the NSR fan club for more than 10 years, we have been thinking a lot about how to promote its future use. We realized early that destinational shipping with specialized vessels would be the main activity to start with. These very expensive vessels should be used on the shortest possible distance where their capabilities were really required. That meant that there would be a need for transshipment points. That would be our contribution. The first mover with regard to organized destinational shipping was Norilsk Nickel, with vessels built already in the mid-2000s with a Finnish Aker Arctic icebreaking design, mainly using Murmansk as transshipment hub for cargoes to and from Tudinka on the Yenisei River. Thereafter came transshipment of oil in specialized ice-breaking tankers. The shallow coast of the Arctic requires offshore loading facilities. Over the past 2 years, Tsiudi Arctic Transit, on behalf of Yamal LNG, has organized LNG ship-to-ship operations totaling more than 20 million cubic meters from the ice-breaking Arc7 double-acting LNG carriers to conventional vessels. The operation proved that large-scale transshipment was possible during the Arctic winter with a well-organized operation in sheltered waters. It showed how Arctic infrastructure, such as these $350 million vessels built at Daewoo, can be utilized in the most efficient way by transshipping at both ends of the NSR. Yamal LNG, until now the most important boost to the new NSR, will from 2023 use permanently installed floating storage units on the eastern and the western side, and has now tested out a new temporary site at the Kildin Island outside Murmansk. In the future, we believe there will be more land-based and or floating terminals serving other Arctic resource developments, including minerals, metals, and coal, in addition to oil and natural gas. Also for general cargo and other supplies, the Yamal project has been crucial. One example is the supply of rock from Kirkenes to Sabetha. Yamal LNG and other Arctic developments require enormous logistical efforts to move equipment and plant into the areas of construction and later to serve the ongoing operations. As an example, today Archangelsk port is absolutely full with cargo for the new development, Arctic LNG 2 at Gudang. Kirkenes' advantage as a supplier of large volumes of crushed rock is that it can be transported at lower cost with large vessels. This illustrates how infrastructure across the borders can serve the neighbors' needs. These graphs from Center for High North Logistics show how the total use of the NSR has accelerated over the past 5 years, both in terms of numbers of vessels and cargo volumes. This is to a large extent due to the impact of the Yamal LNG project during the construction phase and the following export of LNG. But a number of other projects are contributing to this increase as well. Arctic LNG 2 is the immediate future planned for 2022. Due to lack of people and infrastructure, shallow waters and harsh weather conditions, the Arctic is particularly well suited for floating structures which can be built outside the region and floated into position. Arctic LNG 2 being built in Murmansk is one example, and a floating nuclear power station in Pevek another. After Yamal LNG, Arctic LNG 2, then Arctic LNG 1 and 3. Going forward, the Novatek projects are the most publicized, but there are other developments such as Gazprom's Kamennoye More, Norilsk Nickel's oil products, and others. When added up, These projects will generate an enormous increase in volumes out of northern Russia and Siberia over the coming 15 years, which can be seen from this graph. In order to be recognized as an international trade route, the NSR needs more regular international users, not least Asian operators such as Costco. This will over time motivate the construction of more suitable ice-class vessels within all segments. The lack of suitable tonnage is today a major impediment for the development of the NSR. Maybe in the future, pools of suitable vessels owned by different owners could jointly serve the needs of cargo owners. For example, a pool of larger ice-class bulk carriers could serve mineral and mining developments in northern Russia and the Nordic countries together. This would give the confidence to cargo owners and resource project developers that the lack of transportation capacity is not a threat to new projects and that the costly ordering of dedicated fleets to serve individual projects is unnecessary. Rosatom Logistics is working to establish the Northern Transit Corridor for fast container transport between East and West on a year-round basis. We believe such a project would benefit from collecting and delivering cargo both inside and outside Russia, thereby maximizing the cargo catchment area. For that reason, we have proposed, in addition to Murmansk, that Kirkenes, less than a day's sailing away, could serve as a transshipment port as well. Maximizing the cargo availability is the decisive factor for the success of this project. Along the same lines, large port development plans are underway in Murmansk for a wide range of cargoes. And large-scale construction work is ongoing as we speak. Should Kirkenes see its port infrastructure development as a catalyst to complement the development in Murmansk? Specialized container carriers or multi-purpose vessels can then pick up or discharge cargoes on both sides of the border with very little deviation and loss of time. In connection with the reopening of the Sydvaranger iron ore mine, it is planned to increase the bulk port to be able to load Capesize vessels. Why not ice-class Capesize? In the long term, the Siberian rivers will become large arteries for transportation and major sources of cargo for the NSR. An example is that Kazakhstan is looking at using the Ob-Irtysh river system to gain access to the world's oceans via the port of Sabeta. Large chemical plant components from Hyundai Heavy Industries was transshipped at Kirkenes for Tobolsk, Siberia, illustrating how the rivers can work both for the import of equipment and plants and for the export of products. To utilize the potential of the NSR fully, some bold and large infrastructure investments will have to be made. The Chinese Belt and Road Initiative could play a role in that. Not only east-west, but also north-south connections are required to make these transportation systems work. The Arctic has minerals, metals, natural gas, and a great potential for renewable electricity from wind and hydro, including the production of green and blue hydrogen. By combining these input factors, the Arctic could become a platform for green industrial processing. Sustainable shipping solutions combined with short transportation routes to the main markets in Europe and Asia can turn the Arctic into one of the green solutions the world requires. If of interest, I am pleased to share with you an article I have written on the topic named Green Energy and Large Mineral Deposits Provide Sustainable Business Opportunities in the North. It is available from the Yongsan University. One option is direct reduced iron production with natural gas. If carbon capture and storage with CO2 deposition is added, a sustainable solution for Arctic processing of Arctic resources would exist. Here illustrated by the value chain Finnmark. Another solution which has been announced by Europe's largest iron ore producer, LKAB, the steel producer SSAB, and utility Vattenfall, aims to produce absolutely emission-free steel on a large scale in Sweden. The goal is to produce the first fossil-free steel by 2026 using hydrogen as alternative to the coking coal used in blast furnaces. The hybrid project, when fully realized, requires electrical energy equivalent to 1/3 of Sweden's present capacity. This illustrates the challenge of power generation, which will be the same all over the Arctic. Russia has presented one solution in the form of a floating nuclear power plant installed by Rosatom at Pevek in Siberia. Other solutions can be extensive onshore and offshore wind farms in a part of the world with plentiful of wind resources. Our future vision of the Arctic involves higher value processed products such as semi-processed metals and minerals and table-ready fish products, creating more resilience through the commodity cycles, securing stable employment for the more than 4 million people living there. This creates the basis for retaining young people, the precondition for a viable Arctic and the communities, whether indigenous or not. The aim must be to create livable and thriving Arctic societies while supplying the world with environmentally friendly products produced with sustainable technologies. To sum up, the positive trend of the NSR development can be seen from the Center for High North Logistics NSR 2020 map. The volumes are driven by Russian resource development projects requiring destinational shipping both during the construction phase and for exports from the projects. The few tracks from the Mary River iron ore mine on the Canadian Baffin Island, which you see here, to the far east, via the NSR indicates some of the future potential if sufficient numbers of suitable vessels would be available. In addition, container transport might increase from a very low level if the Rosatom Logistics Northern Transit Corridor is realized. The main conditions required for the continued growth of the NSR are: firstly, continued resource development. The main driver for developing shipping is always the availability of cargoes. Secondly, infrastructure construction such as ports, power generating capacity, and necessary icebreak availability. Thirdly, availability of ice class vessels. Real interest in the NSR will only come when there are enough ice class vessels to remove the uncertainty regarding its regular use. Russian regulations giving cargo preference to Russian flag and Russian built ships will over time be detrimental for the development of the NSR. A high number of available vessels and thereby competitive freight rates will determine whether cargo owners choose the NSR as a regular transit route. To achieve this, cargoes from Russian Arctic ports must be open to foreign flag and foreign built vessels. If not, the cargo base will not be sufficient to secure enough vessels without long-term contracts. This will become a limiting factor as a liquid market in high ice class vessels is a precondition for the NSR to be dependable and thereby catching the interest of the international business community. To succeed, it is critical to raise the awareness of the potential of the NSR. It is most often the transit potential which is being focused upon by the media and non-Russian cargo and ship owners. It is seen as more relevant for the international shipping community than the destinational shipping. For this reason, the NSR must not be seen as an exclusively Russian affair. This adds to the generally negative attitude to the commercial activity in the Arctic, illustrated by a recent article in the Shipping Weekly Tradewinds, Say Niet to NSR, by Terry McAllister, the former energy editor of The Guardian. As there is very little knowledge about the economic activity and even less about transportation in the Arctic, it is easy to applaud those companies which make a point of pledging never to use the Arctic shipping routes. Everything that contributes to generating volumes for the NSR benefits all users, such as project developers, cargo, as well as ship owners. Everyone interested in realizing the potential of the NSR and the livelihood of the people of the Arctic have a joint challenge to initiate sustainable economic activity, generate cargo, and preferably two-way traffic on this shortest route between the world's two largest oceans, thereby saving time, reducing emissions, and making sustainable economic activity in the region competitive and attractive. But above all, and most importantly, predictability is key. Thank you for listening.
Well, once again, Mr. Ciódi, thank you very much. Following the keynote presentations, we will move on right away to session 1. And the first session will be moderated by Mr. Sang-woo Lee, Director General of the Korean Maritime Institute. We have 3 presentations ready for the first session. Let me invite Mr. Lee. And we also have one more Korean gentleman, Mr. Park Sok-tae Park, one of the presenters of the session 1. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Once again, my name is Sang-woo Lee. I'm Director General at Korean Maritime Institute. Due to the unprecedented for the first time in the history, we are having a very interesting seminar due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have obviously offline participants here gathered together, but we also have online participants joining via Zoom platform. If everything runs fine, I would expect nothing more, but obviously, we may bump into some technical difficulties in the middle. So to that end, I'd like to ask for your understanding in advance. And starting the first session of the seminar today, once again, I will be serving as the moderator. As mentioned by Mr. Ciódi in the keynote presentation and also highlighted by many others before, the NSR has been almost 10 years that were used and gaining interest. So we had accomplishments. I mean, in the past, of course, it's also true that we had some fantasies and far-reaching hopes. But now we have a better understanding and we can now see more clearly about the way forward. And now, from Russia, we have, of course, they have strategies to accomplish by 2035. So this will, of course, set a kind of a big picture, setting a clear direction for the Northern Sea route to develop. So roughly 3 to 4 years ago, only 6 million tons of cargo transported via the NSR. But of course, this year it will be much more than that. Roughly 33 million, I believe. And in Russia, based on their plan, by 2035, they expect to have more than 130 million tons or so. To look back on the steps we've taken so far, we have a gentleman from Russia, and we will look upon the developments or progress we have for the last 10 years. And the second presenter from China, from COSCO Shipping, will also share with us experience with International Arctic Treasure of Chinese shipping company. And last but not least, in the first session, from Korea, we have one gentleman from Sinocord, also presenting on NSR development progress and plan. So that will wrap up the first session. Okay, then. So for the first presenter of the session, the main results of navigation in the water area of the North